And we're live, coming to you from our studios right here at Guidus TV. Our program, Talk About It. And that's exactly what we want you to do tonight. Join us, pick up the phone, be ready to call us when we put the number on the screen. If you're watching this in the future, it'll say pre-recorded, and there will be no need for you to call in at that time. But today, which happens to be Monday, the 21st day, I guess still the 21st day, isn't it? Yes. Of November. And here in New York, the New York time, by the way, is almost was just after 10, so, you know, it's almost going to the 22nd. But we want to talk about a couple of things that, for whatever reason, they're not in the mainstream news, and we think we need to talk about it. Number one, and I want to go to this one, it's not about a political issue so much tonight as it is talking about some of the natural activities taking place in the earth. One of them is the earthquakes. We're going to be showing you a clip about that in a few minutes, and talking about the earthquake that occurred in Japan yesterday. And I'm hoping that we'll have one of our brothers in Texas will be calling us and talking about it, because he and I were together when we felt that earthquake here in the United States. Tiny, tiny vibrations in a hotel, on the 5th floor of a hotel, right on the coastline, very close to the coastline for the Gulf of Mexico. And we'll be talking about that. Also, we will be talking, inshallah, God willing, about some of the things that are happening in the cabinet and what's going on with the politics of Washington a little later in the program. We're anticipating having our sister Kim calling us from South Dakota. We're looking forward to our sister Chantel calling us from California, or at least being with us on the internet in a way that you can leave messages. If you don't want to call in, maybe you'd like to chat with us, we have our chat room set up for that tonight. We can actually post your messages right up on the screen. You can type them in, and we can do that as well. Those are just some of the things we're going to be doing right here on Guidus TV, here and now. That's what we want to talk about. Okay, so stay right there and get guided with Guidus TV.
Guidus TV.
Welcome Sheikh Yusuf Azdaz and the newly converted Muslims.
MashaAllah. Newly converted Muslims. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Oh, I love this. And you can watch it anytime if you just get the apps, the free apps for iPhones, iPads, also the smartphones. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. The smartphones and the Android phones. You'll be able to do it real easy, and it is free, and you can watch it anytime. Wa alaikum salam. We're about ready to give some more shahadas, and you can join us. You can also help donate. Donate online at guideus.tv. Yeah, guideus.tv/donate. Allahu Akbar. And you can be helping these people get to Islam too. Allahu Akbar. Allah gives the hidayah. He guides the people with Guidus TV.
Get guided. Guidus TV.
My name is Abu Hafsa Abdul Malik Claire, and if you don't know, you should know. You're watching Guidus TV. But guess what? Guidus TV is available on your phones now. It's available on your iPhone, on your iPod, on your iPad, on your Android, all over the smartphones. It is available on your App Store or your Play Store. It is FREE free. Go there, download it, install it, play it, enjoy it, and share it. And remember, get guided with Guide Us TV. Now available on your App Store, Guide Us TV. Go to your App Store today, search for Guide Us TV, download, and enjoy.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and we are back. I got something that I want you guys to check out. Let's see if we can put this up for you just in a second here. I just had that little guy too, and that's something. Ah, here it is. Let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger for you and play it. This is about the earthquakes in general. Earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, typhoons, and all in the same week? How about this? Earthquakes are occurring every single hour all around this planet, yet we hardly notice. What's going on? What about the prophecies and the predictions of the earthquakes? Zalzala. It's known in Islam that in the last days, earthquakes will be so frequent that everybody will experience them all around the globe. Today in California, you would be amazed at how many earthquakes of high magnitudes have struck throughout the Andreas Fault. You'd be surprised too to learn how many earthquakes and the great magnitudes that are happening all the way from the far northern Pacific in the Aleutian Islands near Alaska all the way down to Samoa, the Philippines, and Indonesia. This is not something new. This is something that's been going on for a long time, but it's increasing both in frequency and intensity. We're going to be talking about that and the prophecies, the predictions, and where we are in these days of the quakes. All that and more coming up right here on Islam Newsroom. All right, that's from our website, islamnewsroom.com. I invite you to take the time and energy to watch that, spend a little bit of time with that particular, it's one of our feature stories today. And when you go there, you're also going to see something else. I'm going to show you that. We're going to take this break and be right back. Well, we're not going to take that break after all. I'm going to stay right here with you guys and show you what we've got going on. Let's take a look at Islam Newsroom right now. And that is our feature story right there. You can see it, the giant earthquakes taking place again. That's in Japan yesterday. The tsunami, there were several tsunamis that they feared, and sure enough it happened. That was Fukushima, and that was also affected the nuclear power plant there, very close to the other one that was affected by the famous earthquake in Japan back in 2011. So, and you can get more about this at the bottom of the page. Just click on that and it will take you then on into another article and let you hear the whole story. This is what we wanted to accent for you and bring this to your attention tonight. This is a very big story from a number of angles, yet it seems that we were very consumed here in America with political issues over some things maybe important, but maybe some things that were a little bit on the trivia side. But why isn't this being mentioned? Let me explain it from another perspective. In Islam, we know that earthquakes are a sign of the last days, the days when things are going to be the big trials, tribulations, chaos, or what's called fitna in the Arabic language. And along with that, there are other signs that we also know about. Those signs are also happening at the same time. This is why so many of our scholars are looking seriously at this being a time when very soon that Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, will come back to the earth. Now, for a lot of Christians, they'd be surprised to hear me say something like that and say, wait a minute, it looks like you didn't really leave Christianity that much. You're still talking about what we believe. And I try to emphasize in so many of our programs that the beliefs in Christianity and the beliefs in Islam are so parallel when you look to the older manuscripts that you might be very surprised. If you were to take, for instance, some of the manuscripts from even prior to Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, prior to his time, you'll find that there are things mentioned there that are totally in line what we're finding from the last prophet of Almighty God, which was Muhammad, peace be upon him. I want you to keep in mind something else while we're on that subject, that all these people that we're talking about, when we say Adam and Moses, we talk about Abraham, peace be upon both of them, and we talk also about other prophets like Jacob, peace be upon him. And then here comes something key, very key, is his two sons that we want to mention about. One of them that very clear is Yusuf, and what happened to him. That's mentioned in the Bible, but it's also mentioned in the Quran in details. Then another son, which is Judah. And maybe it's not as fresh in your memory or, making an impact when I say this name, but this is the progenitor of the tribes of Judah. Now, when you put all that together, you say, well, okay, what's the big deal here? Well, if you know the history and go back to Isaac, you'll find that this is the channel of genealogy where the children of Israel are coming from. At the same time, the brother of Isaac, who is named Ismail in the Arabic, Ishmael from the Hebrew, is the progenitor of who? Of the long line that comes in the Arabic community to Muhammad, peace be upon him. So Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, through his mother Mary, coming from the line of Isaac, from Jacob, from Abraham, sorry, and then also at the same time from his other son Ismail, we're finding that this is the line coming down to Muhammad. So it's not like somebody's making up something off the wall or pulling aliens from outer space or anything like that. This has its roots grounded in the genealogy. You can go back and look at that. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're not from one of those tribes that you're not going to be able to participate in the religion and be saved on the day of judgment, but it's just to give authenticity to what we're talking about. Because when you compare these stories up, you find a lot of similarities, and in some cases exactly. For instance, the story of Joseph or Yusuf in the Bible versus the story of Joseph or Yusuf in the Quran. The difference you might find right away is that in the Quran it doesn't stop and tell some other story in the middle of the story and then come back to it again. It stays focused on the one story, but you're still able to follow either way and understand that the lesson is quite similar, that one is being patient, trusting in God. This is a very important part of being a Muslim. Another thing that we find in these stories is that it's always coming back to the belief in the one God, and that's the overshadowing of everything else in the message coming is believing in one God. All right, now, enough of that. Didn't want to turn it into preaching tonight, but wanted to give you an idea or a sense of what is going on now. All of these three faiths, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, are talking about somebody who's going to come in these last days. According to the Jews, that when Jesus came the first time, they didn't recognize him, but they're still looking for their Savior to come in the last days. Okay? According to the Christians, he came and he left. According to the Muslims, he came and he left. But all three of us are looking for somebody to come in these last days. And as far as the Muslims are concerned, we're saying that we know approximately where he's going to be, which is in Syria, Damascus. And that's where all the trials and tribulations are happening right this minute. And then you say, okay, this is another big wild story. Well, maybe it is, but check it out. Why not? There's some of the wilder stories than that going on the internet, and people are buying into it. But look at this from a standpoint of a skeptic and say, I don't want to believe it until I see evidence. And I want you to do that, because the evidence that we see around us is pretty clear. One is about these earthquakes. Zalzala. Zalzala. These are earthquakes taking place, big quakes shaking, and it's mentioned in the Quran. This is a sign. And if I don't see the calls not coming in right now, but I was hoping that the brother in Texas would call us, but I know he's pretty tired because he and I both had to leave. We got up at 5 o'clock this morning in Louisiana and had to fly out and go our respective ways. Now, alhamdulillah, we're live and talking about this subject that just happened yesterday. We could feel the shaking in the hotel room on the 5th floor at the same time that earthquake was going on in Japan. And if you said that's not possible, I got news for you. That also the big earthquake that took place in Japan before, now that was so big that I'm trying to remember, it was where it was located. It was under the water. It hit so hard. And then that giant tsunami that came from that, I mean, that was big time. And I want to mention too something for you to think about, was that the earthquake back in the one that happened the day after Christmas, if you remember, some years back. At that time, I was in another hotel in India, and I felt it. And one of our scholars was in another room, and when we met up later in the day, he was talking about feeling the shaking going on. I said, yeah, I felt it too. It felt kind of like, it was very small tremble, just like this, you know, just very, very small. Like in one of our studios in Ohio, sometime we feel a tremor, but it's because there's a train track going by over there, and we know what that is. But whenever you're up in a hotel and you're feeling this tiny, tiny little tremble like that, it could be something that underground, deep down underground. Because that's what I felt in India, and then they had that giant tsunami that hit all across the Asian waters and then up into Chennai. It was called Chennai. It used to be Madras, and that water was like a wall of water that came in there at that time. Now, my point here is, if we can feel that on the other side of the earth, this means that thing, it was deep, that's true. But at the same time, how come we can feel a plate moving on the other side of the earth? And what does that mean? What are the ramifications behind this? I'm not an expert, of course not a geologist, but it's something to think about. What is going on with our earth today? Now, on another note, I want to share with you something. I don't know if I can pull it up real quick for you, just came in my mind, to take a look at on Search for Islam. If you go to Search for Islam, this is one of our websites that you can find things that you're looking for. Search for Islam, and just type in Burj, B-U-R-J, okay? Burj, because that's the name of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. It's 818 meters high. All right, let's take a look at that. Take a look. See if I can make that a little bigger for you and get kind of a perspective of what it is we're talking about. Whoa, that'll make you crazy going that quick, wouldn't it? There it is. Having been there on numerous occasions, I can tell you that from a distance it looks like this giant pencil standing up there, because 818 meters high, that's pretty high. this is some fireworks that they had. No, it's not on fire. Don't panic. They're just some fireworks that they put on there to kind of celebrate opening it up. Some notes about this thing. It says it's nothing more than a sign of unbridled excess. That was somebody complaining about it. To flush a toilet, you have to pump water a half a mile up into the sky. And by the way, they estimated it cost $44 to flush the toilet because of getting the water up there and getting it back down again. That's something to think about, isn't it? Here's the top 30 or 40 floors are so tiny that you can't use them for anything but storage. And it uses enough electricity for an entire city. Big tower, big cost, big show-off, big deal, they said. Here's a comparison. Let's take a look at this comparison right here. It gives you kind of an idea of the size. The Petroleum Tower, that one, the double one right there in Malaysia, is so tall, but by comparison to the Burj Khalifa, it looks like that's double the height, doesn't it? The Empire State Building is over here. I don't know if you can see where I'm moving that mouse up and down on it, but it's not even half the size of the Burj Khalifa. Even the Eiffel Tower, look at the Eiffel Tower. It's so small. And of course there's Big Ben over here on the side. That looks like Little Ben. So what does all this mean to us? Well, there's a prophecy coming to us from our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, telling us that in the last days, we're going to see some of these things happening. And one of the things he mentioned real clear is when you see the Arabs, the desert Arabs, competing against each other to build the tallest buildings in the desert. Tallest buildings in the world, but building them in the desert. And that's, at that time, I'm sure they thought that was ridiculous, because who in the world would want to go up? Because you go up in the air when real estate is expensive, but when you're talking about sand in the desert, that's not really expensive, you know what I'm saying? Why in the world would you want to build something up and make it not only tall, but at least double the size of any other building on earth? Why? And how could it be? And yet that's exactly what's happening. And if you go to Dubai, for instance, you'll see so many tall buildings over there. The same is true if you visit other Arab countries over there. You will see how many of these are competing to build the tallest buildings. In fact, right after this one was completed, it wasn't a few months later that someone in another part of Arabia was seeking to get permission, and he got the permission to build a taller building. He wanted to build it 1 mile high. And I heard now that he's going to try to limit it to just a half a mile. Okay, but why? There's another one that I should mention to you too. It says that when a slave gives birth to the master, some people tried to tell us that that was because probably the children would be ordering their parents around. But now we have heard, and just this year, about a type of, I think they call it a fertilization of the egg, taking the egg from a woman and the semen, the liquid from the man, mixing these in a petri dish, then putting them into the servant of them, because the lady, she doesn't want to lose her shape by having a baby or going through all of the pain and trials and all that. So let the servant have the baby for them, and maybe pay her or whatever, but she'll do that, and then that baby grows up to be her master. Exactly what it says in the sayings and teachings, the traditions of Muhammad. So that gives us a lot to think about. I think that we also have, let me take a look and see what we got going. We have somebody on the line with us right now. Sister Kimberly is there. Assalamu alaikum, sister. How are you doing?
Walaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah. Doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, you've been listening to me rattling my jaws here for a while. I wanted to get your take on some of the things that we're seeing going on in the world right now, and what things are really that you want to talk about.
Well, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was what's happening in Aleppo right now. I don't know how much you've been following it, but in Aleppo they've been bombing pretty much nonstop, and they're targeting hospitals. And there's only one operative hospital left in Aleppo at this point in time. And things over there are getting very bad. And there's only one obstetrician left in eastern Aleppo. She's the only one who is doing her job, and she's desperate for a place to work.
I'm sorry, I found the story. I didn't realize that it was going to come on automatically when I hit it. But while you're talking, I'm going to just put this up here. We'll take a chance to look at it. It's just a short clip, but it's what you're talking about. Let's put it up and let them hear this, okay?
Sure.
All right, here we go. All right, now that's what we have. That comes to us. By the way, that comes to us from Al Jazeera. I want to give them credit for their efforts in bringing that to our attention. Sister, have you seen this in the mainstream news? Are they talking about that anywhere? I haven't seen it.
I've seen it on sites such as Now This. I've seen it on Al Jazeera.
No, I'm talking about mainstream. I'm talking about America, ABC, NBC, Fox Network, CNN. Anything?
CNN does have it. They've got an article up right now. Aleppo eyewitnesses describe aftermath of hospital attack. And I did see
Imagine
it on
somebody attacking a hospital with children in it.
And the harsh thing is that part of the tactics that they use is what's called a double strike. They will bomb an area, wait for the rescue teams to move in, and then bomb it again, and so that they can take out the rescue teams as well. In this case, the hospital was taking care of people who had been affected by an attack from chlorine gas, and so they had just had a large number of people that had moved into the hospital for treatment when the hospital was attacked.
Well, you know, for anybody who wants to get more of this information, you can simply go to our website. It's actually our web page on Facebook, and that's where you'll find us right there. And in addition to that, there's another story that we have. Maybe we should talk about this as well. When we come back, I want to be talking about this. It's, well, I'll let people hear it for themselves. This we got from the Huffington Post when Representative Luis Gutierrez was talking about Jeff Sessions as a choice for Donald Trump because of something that he is about to expose, and I want to see what the mainstream news is talking about that. So all of that is what we're going to be having when we come back. Stay right where you are and get guided with Guidus TV. You can also use our websites to help other folks come into Islam. Share Islam is where you'll get the answers to the questions that you have. Questions? Why not? But let's start at the beginning. What's Islam? When you click on this one, it'll take you to one of our best of websites for that. And God Allah. This website explains what's called the Aqidah, the understanding. Allah's Quran gives us everything from the listening, the reading, and how to do it yourself. Prophet of Islam, another great one for us for understanding who is Muhammad and what he really said and did. Islam's women, oh, that's a great one. But guys, be careful when you go there. You got to lower your gaze. Science Islam, so many people talk about the miracles of Islam over the 1400 years. And then we've got the Jihad website. What is real jihad? What is the Sharia of Islam? Find out. And then Bible and Islam. What is the reference that Muslims have about the Bible? And a live chat where you can actually go in and sit there and talk with folks that are Muslim and can help the new Muslims get more. And then finally come to the questions. If you didn't find your answers and all of that, just log in right here and see for yourself how you can get answers to the important questions that you have about Islam. All that and more, you'll find it on shareislam.com. And of course, right here on Guidus TV, and we always say, get guided with Guidus TV. You're watching The Newsroom, Islam Newsroom. The news you want.
Guided, get guided. Oh, Guidus TV.
Moving on to our pre-boards as any adult passengers who requested extra begin the boarding process here at B14. Moving on to our pre-boards as any adult passengers who requested extra.
All right, now that was just to give you a little taste of what we posted on the Facebook today while we were traveling. And whenever we are traveling, I like to use the camera and get little clips of things. Today I was able to get a lot of shots out of the airplane and looking down and seeing all the goodies, but we don't really have time for that tonight. We're hoping that when we get down to New York, let's see, that's tomorrow night, we'll be in New York, and then following that we'll have one night that we will not have our live on because we're going to be traveling all the way to Australia, and then we'll start up our live again on the following night. So that means on Tuesday night we're live in New York, and maybe I could say live from New York. It's Tuesday night. I don't know. What do you think? But the jokes probably won't be as good coming from me anyhow. Then after that, we will have Wednesday night. We'll probably put a rerun up, and then on Thursday night, we'll be doing a live show from there. We're going to try to make it come out to be the same time that you're used to here, although in Australia, I think it's going to be something like something in the afternoon, I don't know, or whatever, but I'll let you guys know about that as we go. We got Sister Kimberly on the line with us right now. Sister, what have you got for us today?
Well, one thing that we were looking at was this very interesting thing that was shown up thanks to The Guardian. A historian has found a German decree that banished Trump's grandfather from Germany, and he was told to never come back. It was a document that was issued in February of 1905. He was ordered to leave the Kingdom of Bavaria within 8 weeks as punishment for having failed to do mandatory military service and failing to give authorities notice of his departure to the U.S. when he first emigrated in 1885. So he was kicked out of Germany, told to never come back, and once he got here, he was in some pretty shady business. He was actually running a brothel in order to fund his sisters who were here already, real estate business. And
by the way, we
they
want to
had
make
already-
it clear. We want to make it clear that there's no implication here that his sisters were involved in prostitution. I want to make sure nobody said I said that. Okay.
No. Actually, the term that they use here in the article, he habitually sent gold nuggets because he'd worked with some gold hunters, with which his customers regularly paid for their food to his sisters, who had already emigrated to New York and started trading in property. So he was sending them gold from his other businesses, which, of course, were the brothels out in the gold mining areas, so that his sisters could start trading in property, and that's how they got into real estate.
Let's take a look at that. We got it up here right now. Let's play it and see what we got with that, what we think about this. Hang on, everybody. Here we go.
Es handelt sich dabei einen Brief des Auswanderers Friedrich.
It's a letter from the immigrant. He was the son of a wine grower from in Palatine. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1885 when he was 16, and then he made a fortune.
Sein Glück gemacht, kann man sagen. Hat sich dort ein Vermögen erworben, ist dann im Jahr 1902
He came back to marry
von Amerika
his sweetheart in 1902 in his hometown. However, this is a grandfather Trump, failed to do the mandatory military.
Dieser Brief, in dem geht es darum,
So the letter he sends to a Bavarian prince, Regent Leopold. He tells him he's asking for permission to repatriate to his hometown. The story does not end well for Trump because the permission is refused, even though he really praised the prince big time. He was 16, illegally left Palatine when he needed permission because he had not done his military duty, and the state of Bavaria held that against him.
Und das wurde ihm übel genommen vom bayerischen Staat. Und
That gives you kind of a little bit of a story about that. So anyway, as you were mentioning that now here he turned his attention, you know, to catering to the masses for the gold hunters in Alaska. And then it says allegedly ran a brothel. Okay, we want to put it like that because we don't want to get in trouble. But that's, according to this allegation, that's how he made his fortune. He was sending the gold nuggets that he got from customers. He sent it to his sisters who had already immigrated to New York, and that's how they started their business. All right? And here we have a picture of our beloved president-elect and his father. These are the Trump family. You know, that's taken in 1987. That's Fred on your right, and of course Donald Trump on the left. And what's interesting really about this is that Fred's the son of Frederick. Frederick is the one we're talking about in this little article here. And this story will bring you up to date on the whole situation. If you want to know more about it, this is The Guardian. We used The Guardian tonight to kind of help us bring that out so you could understand what's really going on. Sister, you have some more comments about that one before we move on?
I don't really have too much else to say about it other than one of the things that was kind of surprising to me was that the Guardian referred to the family as Trump when at that time their last name was Drumpf, and they actually changed it when they came to the U.S. So it was Frederick Drumpf that was actually banned from Germany. I just figured I'd throw that out as a little bit of trivia
I'm glad
there.
you did, because I wondered about that myself, because I didn't, but you know, there are some people who might not know that or think that it would confuse the story. I don't know. But yeah, that's a good point, I believe. One of the things that I would like to mention in closing on that particular story, though, is that there's so much talk about not allowing people to come into our country. Even I heard today that one of the appointees that Mr. Trump is putting in there actually doesn't have anything to discuss about how he could work with the Democratic Party on it, because according to some of the Democrats, I believe we spoke a little bit about that earlier, that he, this appointee, doesn't want any immigration. Zero. That's it. We got enough people here. Go somewhere else. And yet, that we're talking about his grandfather who immigrated here, talking about his great aunts that migrated here, talking about Trump's own wife who came here, and whether or not they were legal or illegal immigrants is not even an issue. The fact is, when you're talking about other people who had the opportunity to come here to benefit from this great land, this great country, the wonderful Constitution of the United States, which makes it great, and then you wonder about somebody who wants to come in and stop anybody else from coming in, and then not only that, but alter, change, or cancel parts of the Constitution itself. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, one thing that it reminds me of is, you know, Trump was saying how he wanted to do extreme vetting of Muslims before they were allowed to come into the country. And that's one of the ways in which they were going to stem immigrants. I stumbled upon this today, and I want to thank Al Jazeera for printing this. There was actually a extreme vetting operation that's already in place, and it began in 2008 under a program called the Controlled Application Review and Resolution Policy. It's also known as CARP. It's pretty secret and stuff, but what it does is it authorizes special vetting by the FBI of persons thought to pose a terrorism threat. And just to say it practically, all of the immigrants subjected to this are Muslim or perceived to be Muslim. And what it does is it takes a look at the individual and where the individual travels. And so if the individual has, you know, any unusual travel patterns to countries with high levels of terrorist activity, big transfers of funds, a proficiency in a certain technical skill or something like that, it can land applicants who are trying to come to this country on this secret list. So just to give the example that they give in the article, an individual with a PhD in South Asian languages who has traveled to and from Pakistan for a conference will be identified as a possible potential national security concern whose application to live in the United States will be delayed or denied under CARP.
Well, let's take a listen to that one. I happen to have that one right up here on the screen right now. Let's find out about that. That's interesting. This is on YouTube.
In the Cold War, we had an ideological screening test. The time is overdue to develop a new screening test for the threats we face today. I call it extreme vetting. I call it extreme vetting. Our country has enough problems. We don't need more. And these are problems like we've never had before.
All right, there you have it. Well, extreme vetting is exactly what it says, too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it turns out we've already got that extreme vetting in place. And I was shocked to find out that we already had that, and that it's already affecting Muslim immigration into this country. You have an educated person who's done some traveling in the Middle East, they're going to look like a threat, and it's going to keep them out of this country.
I want to show you guys, talking about something in the country. Let's take a look at this, guys. While I was changing planes in Atlanta, I noticed a lot of people staring at me, and I was trying to figure out, you know, why are these other passengers staring at me? All right, we'll get back to our program already in progress. Thought I'd share that with you.
I can't see the picture yet. Is it the one of you in the fez?
Yep, you saw it. All right. Well, you know, with what's going on, you need a little bit of levity, I think. I don't know, but otherwise you get. And speaking of that, let me just show you something. You know, they've got the Oval Office, right? So what we wanted to do was show people the Oblong Office. What do you think of that, sister? Have you heard about it?
I thought that was very cute. Definitely people need to see this.
All right, here we go. This is the Oblong Office.
And now from the Oblong Office, here at Guide Us TV, get guided with Guide Us TV.
All right. Enough of that. So, anyway, enough. Let's go back to something a little bit more serious. We've been talking on a lot of these issues that are coming up. This is pretty serious stuff. What I want to know is, why isn't this in the mainstream news? Now, here's one. We know that Trump wants an apology from Hamilton. Hamilton being the play that's so famous. It's been around for a couple of years now. It really hit the big time, and the players there actually spoke out, not against Trump, by the way, but Pence happened to be there in the live. It's a play there on Broadway, and some of the people spoke out and said something from the stage. Now, Trump is demanding apology from Hamilton. Do you think they're going to do it, sister?
I don't think they're going to do it, and I don't think they have to do it. When they spoke out, you know, they were, you know, exercising their First Amendment rights, their freedom of speech, and it was the crowd, the audience of the play that actually booed Pence. And, you know, that was the general reaction of the general public. From what I understand, what the cast of Hamilton said was really fairly generic.
Yeah, let me try to get the technician to put this up. I've got it up here. I don't know what happened. Maybe something. There we go. All right. Yeah, I wanted people to see that we, you know, we've got it on our Facebook account there, so people can have a chance to read more about this subject. But my question actually is something else. I wanted to bring this up, that here is a concern that Trump has. Yet, did you know that there were over 400 and, I forget, I think 475 acts of criminal, we're talking about criminal attacks on people in the name of Donald Trump. People claiming that they are attacking somebody else because they're saying that we're Trump supporters and you guys whatever, and these are injuries, no deaths, but serious injuries have been recorded. Now, I don't know how many haven't been recorded, but for whatever reason, he didn't seem to think that was something he needed to address or talk about, but rather somebody insulting his vice president. That's where he's demanding some kind of, I don't know, what do you think? Maybe I'm off the base on that one? I don't know.
Oh, I don't think you're off the base on that at all. He definitely is, he's starting to exhibit, you know, I'm sure a lot of people know this. If not, they can look it up online. Back during the presidential, when they were running for president, a psychiatrist did an analysis of Donald Trump, and one of the things that they said was that he was a narcissist. And
a what? He was a what?
Narcissist. A narcissist.
Like narcissistic?
Yep, narcissist.
That's a person in love with themselves, right?
That's correct.
Well, I don't know.
And
you should like yourself.
But you know, he's starting to definitely show a propensity for being more concerned with things that directly affect him than things that are directly affecting the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also you got to use the big word propensity in a sentence, and I like that too. That was nice. Okay, so, well, what we're looking at now is that there are some issues that are not going away. I noticed that another thing that Trump was talking about, Well, anyway, let me go off of that. I want to show you something else. Let's take a break here for a minute. Take a look at this one. Take a look at this one, guys. You see the two towers there? Well, those are minarets. And most likely, and I'm not sure, but it looks a lot like the minarets in Medina, which would be Masjid al-Nabawi, the Prophet's Mosque in Medina. And what you're seeing is super moon right between the two, right at the top. I thought that looked so wonderful, so amazing, that I would like to put it out there. Well, Howard in Austin, Texas, posted something on that I thought was hysterically funny. Let's see what his comment was. I want to go to the comments now. And yeah, want to know, is there extra points for this? And of course, me, I don't know. I think it's supposed to be 1 point that you get in football for kicking between the goal. I thought it was 2 points, but my wife clarified that. She's the football fan. Anyway, so that, and besides, it's round like a soccer ball or a baseball or a basketball. It's not really shaped like a football. But anyway, it was funny. I thought it was funny. Where's the extra points for that? I don't know. Somebody will probably criticize me for that, but anyway. Yeah, one more time, we've got to go back. I want to show you again. This is the serious team of Guidus TV on the road at the Oblong office right there. That's that's Brandon Estes, by the way, and he's got his Guidus TV chapeau, the cowboy hat right there, mashallah. But now on a more serious note, and I want to come back to that again, we are talking about some very serious issues. When the president-elect, someone who's going to be taking the office, the Oval Office of the most powerful country, maybe in the world today, definitely one of the best of the countries, if not the best, for folks who want the opportunity to grow in education, grow in the opportunity for business, to grow in areas of medicine and so science, and so many things are going on here. Wonderful country, but when you have somebody who's coming in, all of a sudden wants to actually put the kind of limitations in place that our forefathers were trying to avoid or get away from, that they ran away from in England, and therefore put together what's called the Constitution of the United States, and then later the Bill of Rights, the amendments to the Constitution. You know, let's be more clear about what we're talking about, and that's where the rights come from. And now all of a sudden telling us that, well, because it's modern times, we have to change stuff. I'm like, well, wait a minute. The kind of changes you're talking about are not modern at all. You're going back. You're taking us back to draconian times that maybe we'll regret that in the future. What do you think about that, sister?
Oh, I definitely think that it is the type of thing that we would regret. And one of the things that Trump forgets, and a lot of people forget, is, you know, especially right now where they're talking about, you know, the major threats that are posed by certain countries and stuff like that. A lot of people forget that after World War II, we helped a lot of our former, quote, enemies, unquote, move to our country, both from Germany and from Japan, to help bolster our medical and our scientific fields. And by eliminating this type of immigration, you know, and saying just a big blanket, you're from this country, you can't come here, we're really going to be putting a damper on our place, as some people say, as the greatest country in the world. We're definitely one of the most scientifically advanced countries in the world. We definitely have some of the greatest medical advances. Granted, some of them are quite expensive, but they are there.
Time out on that, folks. Just a little quick update for you. And many of those people in those scientific arenas, and especially in the area of medicine, are Muslims. Muslims, from India, from Pakistan, from the Arabian countries, from other parts of Europe and so on. Muslims who have come over here and used their talents, their background, their efforts, even their resources. In some cases, you have this idea, you know, the way that it's being presented, that all the people coming here are broke and they're looking to take money away from us. And that's not really the case. In many situations, we find the Muslims bringing their own funding in with them to put this stuff together, and using the opportunity of this very fertile soil of America to further the advancement for sciences, for fighting cancer, for fighting polio, and many other diseases that we've been plagued with for so long. And who are the people behind it? Some of them are very, very talented and caring Muslims. I wanted to mention that. But we're not going to see that.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, talking about news that's not worthy, okay? It's not worthy enough to what? To put it up for us? I don't know. But take a look at this newsworthy little item right here from Guidus TV. Take a look and chuckle along the way.
And now from the oblong office of Guidus TV, this special message.
Attention Muslims. Register now. Avoid the rush. Get guided with Guidus TV.
There you have it, folks.
Now from the oblong
We got a caller. Let's take the caller. Okay, caller, go ahead. Assalamu alaikum. You're live. You're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing, my man?
I'm sorry. I didn't understand you. Go ahead.
I said, how you doing, my man?
Alhamdulillah. Who is this?
This is the man that talked to you a while back about history, if you can remember, about Hitler.
Okay. What I want you to do, tomorrow night, give us a call. We've only got a minute left in the program, and I don't want to start something like that, and then we have to cut you off, okay? So be sure to call back tomorrow night, but call in the beginning of the program. I want to caution everybody, call in the beginning of the program, because we're almost out of time. Okay, so, sister, any closing remarks on what we're doing tonight, what you think, where we need to go tomorrow night, and what's up?
Well, basically, the big thing that I would say is for all of our Muslim brothers and sisters to be sure to, as you're following the news, you know, open up your search past your major news groups and take a look at some of the less popular news. Make sure you check it to make sure that it's valid. There are definitely plenty of fake news groups out there, but there's a lot of things that are not being reported on the news, and it is all stuff that we need to be aware of. And so hopefully, inshallah, we're going to help you stay on top of it here with Guidus TV. But, you know, feel free to also find your own things and call us and let us know so that we can talk about it on shows such as this.
Perfect. Sister, I couldn't have done better myself. I would like to remind everybody, too, that, again, that tomorrow will be the last night we have our live. We're going to skip a night. It won't be live on Wednesday, but we will be back live again, inshallah, God willing, on Thursday night. For our caller who just called in, I apologize heavily to you for that, but we only had this short few seconds left, and I wanted to remind everybody to text the word Islam, ISLAM, to the special phone number 41444. All you got to do is just put that word, Islam, send it to 41444, and then you'll be able to join us and help us keep going, growing, and get guided with Guidus TV. Till tomorrow night, from myself, from Sister Kim, and from all of us at Guidus TV, peace. Assalamu alaikum.